Namaste, everyone. Good morning. I hope you had wonderful last 2 weeks and were enjoying the fall weather. And now ready for today's session. I hope also that most of you read over the PDF that I sent of the last session. So you were able to have some idea about what habit number 1 is, being proactive. And we'll go a little bit more into detail today. And after today, we have 2 more sessions. So we'll do habit number 2 next week or the next time in 2 weeks. And then I think the session after that is going to be after 3 weeks. So that'll be on either 10th or 11th of December. And that will be habit number 3. We won't be going through all the habits because we don't have enough time. We'll see if we can have another session next year, maybe in the spring or summer. I would say more like if it is possible in spring, because I take the summer off. My daughter and my grandchildren, they come to visit me for 2 months from Florida. So I like to spend time with them. And they're a lot of fun. So, okay, we'll get started and we are going to keep track of time. So, and in case any one of us forgets, feel free to remind me when there is 15 minutes left before the end of the session. And maybe Lillian, if you can let me know about half an hour and then 15 minutes and then 5 minutes. So give me 3. I have my watch here, but just in case we get involved. Okay, so this is what it is, the program, Giving Cash, the emergence of the coffee bean, right? It's a social emotional learning curricula and really bringing out the potential within you, because we have got to learn to lead ourselves and then we lead others, right? So this program teaches how to lead ourselves first and then how to lead others. It's a growth mindset tool for success. We are going to tap into the untapped human potential, right? I'm going to go through some of this stuff, so it's a quick review. And because I want to really get into being proactive, which is habit number 1. This is very, very important. Attention follows intention, right? So if you figure out what your intention is, your goal is, what your vision is, then we put attention to that and we take action on it. What is one little thing that I can do today that will bring me closer towards my intention or my aspiration? Correct? Okay. We live where our attention is. When we direct our attention fully to the present moment, we are fully alive. And it's only in the present moment that we can take action, right? So it's very important that you are aware of that. We talked about the 1% intention. This is a book written by Brian Kane, The 1% Intention. How to close a gap from where you are to where you want to be, right? Because we have this untapped potential within us, right? So we want to tap into that, but there is a gap from where we are right now and getting up there where we need to be, right? The 1% math. If you just do 1% improvement every single day, in 1 year, you're going to be 37 times better. In 2 years, you'll be not 37 plus 37, which is 74 times better, but you are going to be 1,400 times better. In 3 years, it's over 5,000 times better. And 4 years, you're over 2 million times better. And in 5 years, you're going to be 76,000 times better, a million, right? So, and in 10 years, well, I don't even know how to really say that number, but that's how much better you are going to be. In the book Outliers, it says all you need is 40,000 hours to become an expert at anything. And what is the 1%? You have 24 hours in a day, which is 60 minutes per hour, which is 1,440 minutes per day. And 1% of that is 14 minutes and 24 seconds, which is really not that big an amount, right? So all you've got to do is spend 14 minutes and 24 seconds on something that is your number one priority during the day. That's all it is. But you have to figure out what is the number one thing that will have the most positive impact in your life, right? So how can you invest just 1% of your day, which is 14 minutes and 24 seconds, into getting better today? And this only works, folks, if you do it daily, consistently. It doesn't work. You can't just say, hey, I'm not going to do, I don't have time today to spend 14 minutes and 24 seconds. So then I will try and add that to the weekend. I'll do it then. No, it doesn't work that way. You cannot add that way in one day and just work on that thing for at the end of the week. It has to be done daily, because that's why it's called compound effect, and it's done daily. And as Brian tells us, everyone wants to get 1% better, but they fail intentionally to invest that 1% of their day because they don't even know that it's a strategy for success. And the best place to start intentionally is to invest that 1% of your day and become a better version of you today than you were yesterday, then wake up tomorrow and do the same thing, right? Repetition, rinse and repeat. It's actually quite simple. 14 minutes and 24 seconds. You can even divide up this 14 minutes throughout, twice a day. Do it seven minutes at a time. And what is one thing that is most important for you? Maybe you want to have zero technology during that time. In that 14 minutes a day, you are not going to do, you're not going to be in collaboration with technology. You're just going to shut it down. Would that change your life, right? When you shut that down, then you can pay attention to your family or your kids, right? And would that change your life? I think it would, right? Relationships. You see now these days when you go out for dinner, people sitting together, and instead of really chatting with each other and catching up with stuff and smiling and laughing and sharing jokes, each one is on their cell phone, right? You're not connecting. That connection, human connection, is so, so important. And that will help combat any sort of depression, anxiety, all that stuff, right? Or spend it on your life purpose, or living more on purpose, right? Doing the things that you could be doing, right? That will help you with your life purpose. Right? It is just plus 1%, plus one, and tiny investments that lead to tiny gains that add up real fast. 10 years. This is what you will be. Yes, to using 1% of our days to get 1% better. This is one of your tools. Okay, folks, so put this, just doing, because what I'm doing with this program is giving you tools, how to have the life that you can design, right? And that you control and not what society wants you to do. It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis, right? Whether it is losing weight, building a business, writing a book, winning a championship, or achieving any other goal, we put pressure on ourselves to make some earth-shattering improvements that everyone will talk about, and then we forget that really all those big improvements only come when we do small things daily, right? That 1%. Because improving 1% isn't particularly notable, right? Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it is far more meaningful, especially in the long run. Because folks, success is a process. It's not a destination that you can reach. And so it is a long-term goal, right? The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding, right? We just went through that, right? How much better you are in 10 years. So what starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more. Folks, this works both ways, right? It can lead you to success, tremendous success, when you do these small things, 1%, make good choices, make good decisions every day. These small choices and good decisions every day, those are small wins and they will bring you success. But at the same time, you can have a minor setback, -1s, right? You make decisions that take you backwards. Slowly, you start going more and more backwards. And then before you know, it's all one big mess or a disaster, right? So it is only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent, right? Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. Let's use 1% of our day, right? We went through this. You know, your track record for getting through hard days is 100% so far. So don't worry. This is what we are, an acorn from which grows a mighty oak. Think like a genius, perform like a hero, live like a legend, develop growth mindset. Okay, this is the iceberg, right? Illusion of success. We only see people when they have succeeded, but we don't see what was underneath. All the blood, sweat, and tears, and the hard work, disappointment, sacrifices, failures, persistence, right? All the stuff, you don't see it. So what is cash? It's knowledge, attitude, skills when performed daily, right? You put action to this and you make it a habit, and then you do it consistently, daily. It takes about 30 to 66 days to form a habit. So you have to have patience and you have to do it consistently. This is how habit forms, right? When all these three things intersect. We talked about your name. And so identity shapes our performance. How we see ourselves determines how much of our genius we will mine and how much of our leadership will shine, right? Identity drives behaviors, which drives feelings. So if we start out with that identity, And with this program, you're going to start out with the identity of a coffee bean, right? That of a courageous person. So your behavior will be that of a courageous person, right? Courageous behavior. And so when you have that courageous behavior, you will have a feeling of empowerment. And that is the formula for success. But if we flip that and you start out with feelings and emotions, then your behaviors are going to be that how you feel, right? Whether you feel anxiety, depressed, non-empowerment, right? Then your behaviors are going to be like that. You might react, or you might just give up. And now your identity is that of a failure, and that leads to disaster, correct? We have gone over all this stuff, so I'm just going, because it's been 2 weeks, I like to review, so just giving you a little bit overview, right? We talked about the story of an egg. We talked about the 6 prerequisites, boundaries, and the habit, right? So hopefully you remember that the egg, when it went into the water, it became hard, right? It was the water that influenced the egg. So before it was nice and flexible and malleable, but once it went into the water, it became hard, right? And in case of the carrot, it was strong and brisk before it went in the water, but once it went in the water, it became soft and mushy. It just gave up. But in case of the coffee beans, when they went into the water, they changed the water and made the water and changed the water and made it more valuable, correct? Because it made it into coffee. Now, when you go to a Java shop, you know that. Even a plain cup of coffee, I think Starbucks has even gone up now, and it's like $4 or $5 just for plain coffee. And but the water, they will give it to you free unless you get bottled water, right? So now it enhances the value of the boiling water, correct? But that's not what it stopped at. You know, when you pass a Java shop, even if you're not a person who likes to drink coffee, that rich aroma and fragrance that you can smell as you pass the coffee shop, oh, it beckons you, right? Come on in, come in, you know, and you almost feel like going in because that aroma and fragrance is so rich and appealing and delicious, right? So, but that aroma and fragrance is coming from the coffee bean, but we did not smell any of this aroma or did not experience any of this aroma or fragrance until the coffee beans, once they were ground and put in this boiling water. It needed the boiling water. It needed that 212 degrees, not lukewarm water, but this boiling water before its rich aroma could come out, right? It was that untapped potential that it had. And so it used the boiling water as its springboard, right, to show its untapped potential. So in life, to show our potential, we have to face adversities and invite adversities and challenges into our life. If things are easy, you're not growing. Simple. You're just where you are. Okay? Event plus response, the outcome. This principle teaches us how to manage failure without quitting, or basically how to be resilient, right? You might fall, but how you get up. which is the most important aspect of any success formula. There's an old Chinese proverb that says you fall 7 times, but you get up 8 times, right? That is what is resilience. I just talked about this. Coffee Bean realized that it needed the adversities to bring out its full potential and for its growth. And now it looks forward to adversities. It chooses to be the exception and adapt it to the adversity to become something new, delicious, and delightful, right? And basically, that is what growth mindset is all about. So choose in your daily living to look for adversities, look for challenges, right? I like to call them challenges because it's kind of fun. For me, that's the way I live my life. I love challenges. I always like to try something new, so that because it's new, it's difficult, right? So it takes me a little time to master it. Okay, we did this. We know who she is. She's the Coffee Bean, right? Miss Oprah Winfrey. So now the prerequisites. It's very important. To be successful, you have to lay down certain prerequisites because these are metacognitive substitutes. They are predetermined rules that help us when we have this internal conflict, right? Like when we see this fantastic cinnamon donut, right, over there, and just a mouth-watering pastry. We see that, and you know that you should not be eating all that sugar first thing in the morning, because you're eating good food, you're doing all this stuff, and that's not how you should start out your day, or it's not something you should have daily, every morning, right? Because you do have diabetes, and that is not going to help. Those carbs are not going to help. So when you have prerequisites, I did that for a lot of years. When I gave up sugar, I just said, I am just not going to eat sugar, period. Because I know myself, I can't make exceptions. Once you start making exceptions, then you start falling backwards. I just said, I don't eat sugar. And then when I would even go to weddings or anywhere else, even birthday parties, or, every morning there is the morning breakfast always has all these amazing pastries and carbs, right? All I had to say was, I'm sorry, I don't eat sugar. When I just don't eat any form of sugar, people are not going to kind of tempt you, right? So these are predetermined rules, and they helped me for a lot of years. And this year now, I'm more slack. I've gone back to eating few things. I don't eat them daily, but I will eat them if I go to some good occasion, if it's a good occasion, right? So they provide structure and prepares us for encounters with tempting stimuli, and then it redirects our attention elsewhere. So these prerequisites are very important. Did you guys study what the prerequisites are? Let's see if you guys can name them. Put up your hand or write it down in the chat, and I will have Lillian let me know if there are 6 prerequisites. Let's see how many you guys remember. If you want to be a Coffee Bean, you'll have to memorize these prerequisites. And if you have those notes, you can refer to them, But next time you will have to know these prerequisites. And you don't have to put all 6 down. Just put down one, whatever you remember. I want this as a group, right? If you can just write down, even if you have remembered one of them. Folks, if you want to succeed, that's why I'm sending you the notes. You will have to take time, 1% of your day, 14 minutes and 24 seconds, you will have to spend daily on this program. You can't just, you're not going to be able to remember all this stuff. I'm giving you a lot of material, and you will have to incorporate that into your life for you to have the life that you want and design. You will have to put in the work. And 14 minutes and 24 seconds a day is not that much to invest in yourself, because you're the only one who can invest in yourself. Okay, folks, I can teach you how to walk, but you will have to do the walking. I can't do the walking. I'm doing my own walking. That's why I am where I am. But if you, and I'm living the life that I have designed. But if you want to live your life designed just by you, you want to be the architect of your life, then you will have to start making time for yourself to grow. Do we have any answers, Lillian?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Okay, folks, then I'm going to continue and make sure next time that you know that. These are the 6 prerequisites. I'm not going to go into detail with each one, but you are born with everything you need. You are perfect as you are, because we all have to perform different roles in this world. We are all unique. What I have, you might not have, and what you have, I might not have, because my role that I've been created for is different from the role that you were created for. But to play the role that I was born for, I am born with everything that I need. Same thing, you are born with everything you need to play the role that you were created for. No excuses. Remember, I said those are legitimate lies. Take away the T from I can't, right? We talked about Rudolph, right? Then we talked about strong desires. We used Tiger Woods. Decision to work hard, decision, Latin word. When you divide it in 2, it is cut off, right? So you have to cut yourself off from all the distractions and only focus on that number 1 priority, the one thing that will bring you close to the goal that you have set for yourself. We talked about failure. There's no such thing as failure. It's just outcome. It's a learning process, right? And that's strong belief. So I'm not going to go into too much details. I would like you to read them. We talked about Wilma Rudolph, right? She was born with paralysis in her left leg, correct? She had to wear braces, and her mother told her, you can be, do, and have whatever you want if you get rid of those braces. In 1960 Olympics, right? She got 3 gold medals, became the first woman, American woman, to get 3 gold medals at the Olympics. And do you remember what they were in? Guys want to write down or answer that? What did she get the 3 gold medals, Wilma Rudolph? What did she get in 1960? I gave you the hint, right? She had paralysis in her left leg. And what her mother said to her. So what do you think she got her 3 gold medals in? She wore a leg brace until she was 12 years old. Anybody? Go ahead.
Dr. Geeta, this is
Uh-huh.
Lillian.
Okay.
Did she got it in track and field?
Correct. She became the fastest woman in the world. She got 3 gold medals in 100 and 200 meter dash and the 4 times 100 meter relay. I mean, these are fast. You have to be tremendously fast. Folks, you will have to start putting some people you look up to because they'll be motivational. Put up some pictures around you so they will inspire and motivate you to continue on your path. Because believe me, this path is always full of detours and road constructions and all those type of things. The road to success has a lot of switchbacks. And you're going to need to remember and have some role models. Strong desires, those are the people. Tiger Woods, decision to work hard. We said there is no substitute for hard work. Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% hard work. It took Thomas Edison 1,000 times before he made the light bulb. And it took Colonel Sanders 2 years and 1,000 times door knocking before somebody gave him money to start Kentucky Fried Chicken. And he was retired. He was an older gentleman, and he realized that the money he was getting from Social Security was not going to be enough for him to live on. And he didn't have any savings. So he decided if he can start at that age and knock for 2 years on 1,000 doors to get money for his Kentucky Fried Chicken to start his company, I think we've got it a little lot, little easier, correct? Decision cut off means to cut off everything, all your distractions. Focus on your number one priority. Win is what's important now, and do what's important now. The one thing that is going to bring you closer to your number one goal. 70% of office emails are read within 6 seconds of arriving. Can you imagine? You get distracted so easily. And usually it takes 25 minutes. Once you get distracted, to get back to your focus, it takes 25 minutes. So if you want, right, if you want to have a really unproductive day, then open an email every 25 minutes. And you will have a day where you have not really accomplished anything. So basically what Cal Newport tells us in his book, Deep Work, he tells us don't take breaks from distraction, instead take breaks from focus. So have those blocks of time where you're just working without any distractions. Then after 2 hours, you can take a 10-minute or 5-minute break and then look at your social media or whatever if you want to. Right? Then no such thing as failure. We talked about failure. It's a feedback. It instructs you. It's a gift. It's an ingredient for future success. It prepares you. Basically, what it means is it needs work. So how can I fix it or improve it? What work do I need to do on it, right? And basically it means I have not learned it yet. Your adversities are your advantage. Your past has built muscles and not wounds. That's what Darren Hardy said. He's one of my mentors. Right. This is what Michael Jordan said. My mistakes were real blessings in disguise that made me wiser. We get what we think we deserve, right? That's why believing in ourselves, seeing ourselves as enough and worthy of the best thing in life has to offer is necessary. We get in life what we expect, not what we want or what we pray for. Remember, we talked about that. Strong belief. You must choose to expect good things to happen to you or expect to change the challenges into opportunities. What you believe has a much greater impact on your life than what anybody else does. Okay, just remember that. You have to program your mind for success. It just doesn't happen. Faith is really your consent to let your own uniqueness unfold and to let that which is attracted by your uniqueness manifest in your life. This is what they call the law of attraction, right? But what people forget is it's your own uniqueness. So you are going to attract in your life what to play. You are going to attract things that will help you untap your potential and perform the role for which you were created. And what you do is you unfold more of what you are, right? You cannot, like, I'm only 5 feet tall. There's no way, however much I might want to be a basketball player, I can be one, right? Because I'm just 5 feet tall. So, but I was not meant to be a basketball. I was not created to be a basketball player like LeBron James is, right? Or Kobe Bryant. Talk about Stephen Curry. Those guys were created that way, so they could be a basketball player, right? I was created so in such a way that I can take complex problems and find simple solutions. And so I enjoy reading. I read at least 4 to 6 hours a day. So my role is different, right? But I have always this intense desire to read and to gain knowledge. So we are each born with this uniqueness, right? And faith is really your consent to let your own uniqueness unfold and to let that which is attracted by your uniqueness manifest in your life. Okay. Again, we talked about expectancy, right? You will always receive what you actually expect. And it is, you do not receive what you pray for or even what you say you have faith in. Okay. Eric Butterworth is one of the few authors that Oprah has his books right next. From what I've heard, she has it on her night table. Okay, and Maya Angelou, she has written a foreword to one of his books. I have 2 of his books, and they are very amazing. Then we talked about whether you have to figure out. How many of you wrote this down? 3 behaviors that align with being a coffee bean. And 3 behaviors that cause distraction and don't align. Just write down yes or no. How many of you did this? I just want to see how much work you guys are ready to put in this, whether you're serious about it or not. I mean, I know you're serious because you're showing up, right? This is a course of 7 classes. The fact that you're showing up tells me that you are serious. You do want to make the changes in your life. You want to design your life. And you don't want society to design your life, right? Or somebody else. So next time, folks, just spend 1%, right? 14 minutes and 24 seconds a day. This is for yourself, right? So you can start designing your life. So just write down 3 behaviors that you think that you should be doing daily, right? That align to you being this courageous, this amazing, awesome person, right? And 3 behaviors that are basically obstacles that you are doing that are standing in your way.
Dr. Geeta, some people in the chat are saying this is their first class that they're attending.
Okay.
So some people didn't have the opportunity to attend the other classes. So this is their first time coming into your program.
Okay, that's fine. You know, whether it's your first time or 5th time, don't worry about it. If you don't be hard on yourself, I know life is kind of tough, right? It's very difficult, but you can only help others when you help yourself. And for that, you have to start doing stuff for yourself, right? These are the things that will help you with your mental mindset and help you become stronger and slowly start living the life that you would like to live, right? So get started. And if you have never have regrets, don't hit yourself with a hammer. Just treat yourself lovingly and just kind of laugh and say, oh, you know what? I let the day get by. It controlled me instead of my controlling it. So next time, as soon as you realize and you become aware of it, hey, smile at yourself and just tell the day, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to take the control back. And these are the things, these are my priorities, and that's what I'm going to do because it's going to help me become the leader of myself, right? So do it with a smile, folks. It doesn't come easy, okay? Days and right now with all the chaos that is out there, it is very difficult to stay calm, right? Have a calm mind. We are going to be talking about that. That's habit number 1, being proactive. Colin Powell, he wrote a book that we'll be talking about that book, the zone of calmness or calmness zone, right? So do this next time. I'm going to be sending the PDF and then you write down the degree of distraction, right? What are 3 things that distract you? One might be just a little bit, right? Second might be, binge watching, right? Your technology. It's amazing how we have time to sit before TV and become a couch potato and watch a show, right? Because we are really hooked into it. Instead of going out for a walk, which is good for you, for your longevity, for your health, right? That movement, 10,000 steps. So when you watch TV for 1 hour, well, that's not that bad. You watch it for 3 hours. Well, that is a little bit more degree, right? That's to the 2nd degree. So then you might sit and just watch. Like, for example, if you're a football fan, right? Sunday, you might just spend the whole afternoon from 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock onwards, whole day, just watching TV. Instead of taking the time, even 14 minutes and 24 seconds for your own self, that will help you grow, right? And so that would be like number 3, right? Degree of distraction. And then you have to write down the consequences for each of them. By my watching just 2 hours of TV, what is the degree of impact? What are the consequences for it? when I watch 4 hours, right? What are the implications, the consequences? And then when I watch the whole afternoon TV, binge watch, what are the consequences, right? And the impact. And then see, is it worth it? You know, most people spend like 4 hours at least on social media, and then another 4 hours on watching TV. That's 8 hours a day. That's a full-time job, folks. You don't even realize. So make a list of, like, just sit down one day, or, you know, at the end of the day, just write down for every hour, what did you do? Was it something productive, or was it a distraction? And you will be amazed at how you spend your time. And once you see that, start eliminating the stuff that is not getting you close to your goals. But first you have to write down your goals, right? If you don't know what your goals are and what you want from life, it's hard for life to give it to you, correct? So make sure you write down what your goals are, right? Then we'll do that whoop. And what are the outcomes that you would desire? And what are the obstacles in your way? And what are the plans? How do you plan? You have to have different types of ABC, different multiple plans, how to get to your goals. You can't just want to be a coffee bean. There are prerequisites, accountabilities, responsibilities, and boundaries that come with being a coffee bean. My daughter always says, Mom, you have always lived your life on your terms, haven't you? And I said, yes, I have, but it has required a lot of sacrifices. I had to give up a lot of things, and because I wanted to do it my way. And when you want to walk the path that is not traversed by a lot of people, you know, you have to make your own path then. But at the same time, there isn't much traffic on it. Remember that. When you have your own path, there isn't much traffic on it. So you can move faster. But still, I'm very highly disciplined. I have I have an accountable partner who keeps me on track. I have a lot of responsibilities and boundaries, right? It's good to have boundaries because then you know you should not go over them, right? It's always good. So this is what happens. You sow a thought and you reap an act. Everything, remember I told you, everything begins with a thought. And that thought is something that you control, right? You can have a happy thought or you can have an angry thought. So whatever type of thought you have, that will lead to an action. That action, when it is repeated daily, it becomes a habit. That habit, once it becomes like on autopilot, you just do it, right? It's like you remember when you get in the car, suddenly you start thinking and you're driving. You don't even realize suddenly you're at your destination. Hasn't it happened to all of you sometime or the other? I know it has happened to me. Suddenly I'm there. You know, your subconscious mind takes over the driving because it has become an habit, right? So that then that forms your character, and that character forms your destiny, right? So thought, act, habit, character, and that's your destiny. And it all starts with the thought. So if you spend that 1% of your time having just good thoughts, right? Getting rid of all the bad influences and bad thoughts that are not serving you, right? Get rid of all those things, people who are not serving you, because you are a composite of the 5 people around you, okay? So in every area of your life, like at your work, the 5 people you surround yourself with, you are a composite of those 5 people. I can tell a lot about people when I see who they're talking to and who are their good friends and just how they show up, right? So, but it all starts with a thought. We talked about the acronym of leadership, right? This was my definition of what a leader is. But now I'm at a stage in my life where I don't take active leadership roles. I just function more as a mentor to younger people or to anybody who needs help now. And so that's why this is my present definition of a leader. Before, when I was younger, it was different. And these are the different things you can, put down. What does L stand for? Or something else, right? Because you're each one of you unique. First, you've got to learn to lead yourself. You have to become a leader of yourself. Become a leader without a title, right? You don't need a title to be a leader. You can become one, right? So name 3 leaders. Again, now do this homework again, folks. List the 3 character traits you admire most in them. And then do you have those? Right? This is what we just did. So impact of your life, right? What specific contribution you made to that change? Did you leave behind a better world, right? You hear that all the time. But did you make a specific contribution? You don't have to make big. You might just have made an impact on somebody's life by having a very positive attitude and just smiling, even when you see a stranger, right? Because you never know what that smile might have done to that person. There are so many numerous stories you hear about all the time where this random act of kindness made an impact on that person, right? And changed their whole, they pivoted. That was their pivotal moment where that random act of kindness made them feel validated, made them feel worthwhile, made them feel noticed. So how can I make things better, right? Just write down one thing I'm going to do today. Live with the awareness that every decision matters, that every decision is building up your future self and future life. Link your present with your future, and you will have a future you can truly, truly enjoy. I'm taking these yellow ones, quotations. They are by Giovanni, and I'm taking these from his book, Mindful Self-Discipline. He has amazing quotes. He's talking about self-discipline, but mindful, right, in the moment. Folks, remember I told you, every moment is a fork in the road. Yeah, either going to go right or left. And even by not making a decision, you're making a decision. You're making a choice, right? Decision is a choice. So in the present moment, you can influence your future. You can't do anything about the past. It's gone and done with, right? So you have to move on. But the future, you do control. And future is something you can influence, and you can influence by this choice you make in the present moment, because it's only in the present moment that you can make choices, right? You can make, but this choice that you make in the present moment will impact your future. Okay, so that's how you're going to build your future, by making the proper choices in the present moment. Our character is basically a composite of our habits, because they are consistent and often unconscious pattern. They constantly, daily express our character, right? If you get into the habit of kind of lying, right? Suddenly it becomes a habit. And before too long, right? You're just doing it unconsciously, because that's who you become. You become, and it expresses our character, right? People will start thinking of you as a liar. That'll be your character. But now, if you're somebody who's always helping, right? And you are always kind to people, empathetic to people. And when you just consistently do that, that becomes your habit. And then unconscious, that's just is who you become again, right? And people will then that expresses our character over a period of time. People will say, oh, that person is so kind. That person is so empathetic, right? And that's who you become. So that is what is going to be your character then. So it goes both ways, right? And these are the 8 habits and the character traits to becoming a leader. I have attached like habit number 1 that Stephen Covey talks about in the 7 habits of highly effective people. Habit number 1 is being proactive. And so the character trait, when you are proactive, that habit would lead to the character trait of responsibility. You'll become a responsible person. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. And that habit, when you practice it daily, that will become a character trait, which is focus. Habit number 3 is put first things first, and the character trait is self-discipline. Oh, sorry. And the 4th one is habit number 4 is think win-win. Character trait is respect, because this will lead to you developing this character trait. With habit 5, seek first to understand and then to be understood. Of course, the character trait is empathy, right? Because empathy, that's what it is. Number 6 is synergize. And the character trait associated with it is collaboration or teamwork, because that's what synergizes, right? Habit number 7 is sharpen the saw. And the character trait with that is perseverance. And habit number 8 is find your voice and help others find theirs. The character trait is citizenship. We talked about him, Epictetus. As I've told you before, I'm a big fan of the old Greek philosophers. And he was one of them. And he was a Roman slave who turned into a great philosopher. And in his book, The Discourses, he says, model yourself on card players. The chips don't matter and the cards don't matter, but because you can't know what the deal will be, but making careful and skillful use of the deal, that's where my responsibility begins, right? So control what you can and forget about the externals that you cannot control, right? So where I find good and bad in me, in my choices, right? So Don't ever speak of good or bad, advantage or harm, and so on, of anything that is not your responsibility.
Dr. Geeta,
Uh-huh.
you have about 30 minutes left.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Now, creativity and reactive. Being creative or reactive, they have the same number of alphabets, but they are just placed differently. The C is the one letter that we change, right? We put that in front. So instead of being reactive, you can be creative, right? This is a good response, being creative, right? When you are reactive, it's your sympathetic nervous system, right? The fight, flight, or freeze response. But then when we become creative, we respond instead of reacting. The parasympathetic kicks in, and that is where we make good decisions, because now you're making decisions at the frontal cortex part of the brain instead of the amygdala, where you're going to fight or flight, right? And this is calmness. Let's be creative before we are reactive, and take breaks from focus and not from distraction, right? Habit number 1 is being proactive. Life, this is a choice, right? You have in your life, either life is what happens to me or what I make happen, right? Here in the second choice, you are taking control of your life. And this, you're giving away the control. What happens to me? Life is what happens to me. So you're accepting life the way it is. Instead, you're going to make life the way you want to, right? By making proper decisions in the present moment, so you can impact the future and have the future that you want. Being proactive is about choice, being responsible. Habit number 1 says you are in charge, or basically I should have put down, I am in charge, right? Being proactive, anticipating problems and figuring out how to solve them, is actually the opposite of worrying. It's productive. When I know what I want, first you have to have clarity on what you want, right? So once you figure out what you want and the outcomes that you want, then you write down what are the obstacles in the way. You cannot fathom all the obstacles or the challenges, but you can pretty much figure out most of them. And you can get help from others also. Get some mentors who will help you figure out what are the obstacles, and then comes the planning part, right? Have different plans, how you are going to approach these obstacles. So now you have no worries, right? You're not going to be anxious about it. Lillian just told me before we were talking, before we started this, because we get together like 15 minutes before we start this process, before we start this lesson. And I was asking her, and she is an entrepreneur. She has her own business, and she's working on it for last 3 or 4 years. And I'm sure right, Lillian, you have anticipated obstacles and problems or challenges you're going to get your product out, or to form your product and all those things, right? And you have plans how to work them out. Correct? Am I correct?
Yes.
Right. So now she's not worried as to how, when challenges come her way. And instead of worrying, it's productive, right? Because she has already anticipated them, so they are not going to blindside her. So being proactive is trying to figure out what are going to be the challenges you're going to face, and then having the plans ready to go if they show up. If they don't show up, that's fine, but you're all ready to go, right? So this is how you do it. It's called WHOOP, to what is your wish, what are the outcomes you want, and what are the obstacles that you might encounter. It's not might, there are always going to be obstacles in any venture. And so you should have more than one plan, right? You should have multiple plans to face all these different obstacles. So there are 6 formulas. 6P formula is being productive. It is proper prior planning prevents poor performance, right? If it suddenly hits you and then, your mind goes all over the place, right? It gets distracted and you're going to make very poor decisions. So when you have proper prior planning, it prevents poor performance. The night before, I always call it, you only have control over your early morning and your late at night. But between the two, things happen and you have very little control sometimes. But I call them the bookends, the AM bookend and the PM bookend. So the AM bookend, you really started the night before. You plan how your morning AM, your most productive time is going to be. You plan that and you don't let anything, and it's spent on all your priorities, right? Your number one priority. And then at night, that you control. When are you going to have a digital sunset? That means you turn off your technology, spend time with family, right? And you plan the next day. So that's your PM, that you do control. So those are called the bookends. So what task will you complete first thing in the morning? And what task can take lower priorities, right? And also remember the 80-20 rule, that 20% of your activities or customers and products and services will account for 80% of your results, sales and profits. Therefore, make sure to focus on activities, folks, and not accomplishments, okay? So what are the activities you're going to do that will bring you those results? It's all about actions. Otherwise, as Socrates, I think it was him who said that when you just have knowledge in your head, you are just librarians. But you have to become a warrior. You have got to get into the arena. You have got to take action. You've got to fight. You have to have that blood, sweat, and tears right there in the arena, right? To accomplish anything. So you have to become a warrior rather than a librarian. So how do we do it? Be responsible, right? Responsible. Step into the gap between the stimulus and the response and choose the optimal response. This is what Viktor Frankl said. Remember, he's the one who was in the Holocaust, and he was a psychiatrist, and he wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning of Life, right? And he said, between the stimulus and your response, there is a gap. Our freedom and our power and our effectiveness exist in that gap where we can choose our optimal response to any given stimulus. Remember, your parents always told you, before you make a big decision, sleep on it, right? The bigger the gap there is between the stimulus and your response, the better the response you are going to make. Right, here is the response. And this is your stimulus and this is your response, right? Freedom to act with value. And you're not going to act just by being emotional, right? You are going to consciously be aware to act with your values, your character, right? You have to act within that space on the basis of values rather than feelings or events. we gain more and more control over our attitudes and actions. This is what we are seeing right now, right? People are reacting to feelings and events. They are not using their response. They are reacting, they are not responding with values that, hey, is this really democracy? Is this what I really want to do? How is this impacting, right? So then when you live or react, then the net result is that our life becomes a product of our condition and not of our decisions. But if we want to make our life a product of our decision, then you have to act with value, right? You have to come with your character traits. We talked about, right, habit. We talked about getting 1% better, right, by Brian Kane. And that is how you close the gap. So really that book is really a story. And I just gave you that one part, right? So this is what it is. Sunny started asking me about math. There are 24 hours in a day and 60 minutes in each hour. How many minutes are there in a day? She asked me. So I quickly took out the phone and said, hey, Siri, how many minutes in a day? Siri replied, 1,440 minutes in a day. And what is 1% of 1,400? And Siri replied, 1% of a day is 14 minutes and 24 seconds. And that is the lesson and the focal point of the entire book. If you get a chance, read it. As Brian tells us in his book, the best place to start is intentionally invest 1% of your day into yourself and become a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. Then wake up tomorrow and do the same, rinse and repeat. It's actually right. Very simple. This is the math. What would change?
Dr. Geeta, you have about 15 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go through this. We did all this. Colin Powell, remember him? He said, in my own experience, a deep breath is always a good first reaction to a first report. Try to get the potato cool a bit before you, what is the word I've got here? I think I've got, can you read that to me?
Pick it up.
Pick it up or pick it up. Okay. Right. Few people make sound or sustainable in an atmosphere of chaos, right? At the most serious situation at those times, try to establish a calm zone, but retain a sense of urgency. Calmness protects order, ensures that we consider all the possibilities, restores order when it breaks down, and keeps people from shouting out to each other, right? So that's being proactive. You make up your mind that you're going to remain calm, irrespective of what the situation is, right? The calm zone is part of an emotional spectrum that I work to maintain. That is being proactive. We can't control the weather outside, but we can control how we respond. For it is in the mind that the storms of life really blow. And if you can control your mind, you are going to be able to control your life, right? Steadiness of mind is one of the most practical skills that we can learn. That's why learning mindfulness, right? Being in the moment, because everything passes in the moment, right? It's just there for that 1 minute or those 30 seconds. And we all have that power to endure anything that is in that 30 seconds, right? Whether it's challenges or joy or anything. And right now, it's very important. Life today is challenging, to say the least. We live in the midst of conflicts within ourselves, at home, in the community, even nationally and internationally, right? This is an age of conflict, which means it's an age of anxiety as well. Nothing is more vital than learning to face this turmoil with confidence and compassion. It's not life's events that are causing problems or stress. It is your resistance to life events that is causing this experience. So folks, learn to accept the reality as it is. Don't try to fight it or try to think it is different than what it is. By accepting what it is, it makes it easier. Then you can deal with it, right? It's like considering that reality as being one of the obstacles in your life or the challenges in your life. So just have plans how you're going to overcome these obstacles, right? So you stay calm, take a deep breath. And remember, we said when you take a deep breath, it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. So then you get calmness. Parasympathetic system calms your mind because it stimulates also the prefrontal cortex, which helps you make proper decision. And all it takes is just about 30 seconds for the stimulus to go from your amygdala, which is the reactive part of your brain, the sympathetic nervous system part of the brain. It takes only 30 seconds for it to move from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. So when you take a deep breath, that's what it takes, is about 30 seconds, or I should say, I think it is more like 6 seconds or 7 seconds to move from sympathetic. It's a very, very short time. So when you take a deep breath, it gives the brain just enough time or more than enough time for the stimulus to pass from the amygdala to your prefrontal cortex. So now you're making proper decision. So always take a deep breath. Okay, just one deep breath. And that's one of the other tools that you can put in your toolbox that will help you calm down, right? Remember, we talked about the present moment, right? Just now I said, what is the decision? What will this decision that I make in my present moment do to my future self? Who will I become if I say yes to this temptation? Write this down and put it in just put it on a big index card and have it in front of you all over. Every time you're making a decision, making a choice, what will I become if I say yes to this choice that I'm making, to this temptation, right? They determine the life you live. If you want to have control of your life, take control of your mind. Okay, so this is how, when you can't change what happened, this is what you should do. Do your best to be where you are, right? Accept reality. Never regret the kindness and respect you have shown people to the wrong people, when you have shown it to the wrong people, because your behavior reflects you, folks. How you show up really reflects you and not the other person. If you do not like what the other person is doing and you behave just like them, you have no right, to basically criticize them or say they're not kind people, because their behavior reflects them and not you. So you have to always, if you are a kind and an empathetic person, and a loving person, then you are going to show up as that person, irrespective of how that other person is, right? So just carry on with grace. Practice letting go, right? Give yourself the space to value your time. You don't have to attend every argument you are invited to, right? Just give yourself the space to value your time, genuine relationships, and peace of mind above all, right? Just say, how can I respond from a place of clarity and strength today, rather than continuing to react in anger or frustration to the painful experiences that I've been forced to live through, right? Just redirect your focus, right? The greatest weapon you have against anxiety, negativity, and stress is your ability to pause, breathe, and choose one present response over another, right? Making the right choice in the moment. Train your mind to make the best of what you have got in front of you, even when it's far less than you expected. The bottom line is that your life will get better when you get better. And the only person you can control, folks, is you, right? So start prioritizing yourself and investing in yourself. I just wanted to go over a couple other things. Whatever choice you make today determines where you are going to be tomorrow, right? We just talked about that. That's what Coach Wooden said. Okay. You can try this. I will have you read this over, right? Always, instead of taking things for granted, think of things as granted to you. Okay, don't take things. I can't versus I can, right? It's important how you talk to your mind, right? Don't argue with reality, because when you argue with the reality, you will lose 100% of the time, right? I want to get into this part, the character trait response. So we talked about habit number 1, and the character trait that goes with it is responsibility. It is the first 3 habits. They are self-management, how you can control yourself, right? First, you have got to lead yourself, because nobody's going to follow you if you are ranting and raving and you can't control yourself, right? So take responsibility for your life. Taking initiative in life is realizing your decisions are the primary determining factor for the effectiveness in your life, right? And so basically taking responsibilities is...
Dr. Geeta,
Mhm.
we have about 5 minutes for a wrap up for questions.
Right, give me 1 minute here. So responsibility is to be accountable for your actions, words, behaviors, and attitudes, and having a sense of duty to fulfill tasks with reliability, dependability, and commitment. Okay, so this is what responsibility is all. When you cut it into 2 words, it's your response plus ability. It is your ability to respond. Okay, that's what we are going to... Now, these are the questions I want you to do as homework. Okay, at the end, and you can read what responsibility, kind of my take on it, right? So these are going to be your assignment for next time. Okay, and what is one action regarding habit 1 that I'm going to take today and practice it for 66 days? Okay. Go ahead. This is my information. You can email me, or if you have any questions, but bring them in next time. Okay. You've got few minutes. We had a lot of information. So I want you to read it. I've given it to you. You'll get the PDF, or you can, I don't know how it works, but you send them out, right, Lillian? Or do they request?
Yes, everyone that attends each of the classes, we have their email, they sign up for each class. We have your email address, and you will get the PDF and the notes that Dr. Geeta has sent out, and we will send that to you within a day or so. And also the recording is going to be up on the Facebook page within about 48 hours after the class is ended. So probably sometime mid next week for review.
And right, you can go over the past ones to those who's joined today. So you get a little bit, because we did a lot of work on intention and attention and a lot of other things.
And
Any
yes,
questions?
And Dr. Geeta, what I really like was what you went over about decision. The Latin word for decision means to cut off. That really made an impact on me, because it means that we have to stop doing something in order to do something else is more important.
Right? You have to focus on what's the most number one priority for you. Because remember that 80-20 rule, 20% of what you do brings you 80% of results in life. Okay, so you want to focus on the stuff that is most important to you. Because if you focus on something that's not important to you, that will create 80% of your results. So your life is not going to be what you really want. And if you are living right now the life that what you do not want, then look at what you're focusing on. Okay, have you set your priorities? Simple. Life is very simple, folks. Success is very simple. You just have to write down what you want. And like I told you, we talk about eulogy. How do you want people to remember you as? So that you start at that with the end in mind, right? Habit number 2. And you write down your eulogy, then you go backwards. If you want people to remember you with these qualities, then you start going backwards. Okay, now I have to become that person. So you go back, then you go back to that one thing I can do today that will bring me to my end goal, is how I want people to remember me and talk about me at my eulogy, right? But you start with one thing. You have that big picture, but you then concise it into just this one thing that I can do today. So life is easy.
Yes, Dr. Geeta, thank you for that. And we're going to go ahead and close out the class for today and thank everybody for attending.
And you know, if you do, send your with the chat or any questions, either directly to me, and in the subject, always put down rest for success. Because if I get so many emails, if I don't recognize the name, I usually just delete it. I don't even open anything. So you have my email. Send me some questions if you want.